Welcome everyone. My name's Vida and this is Srilankan Cricket Podcast, a podcast where we discuss current news and developments happening in the cricket world with a special focus on Sri Lanka cricket. This is episode 6 of season 1 and I'm joined by my co-host Sohan. How are you doing, Bora?
Doing good, Vida. Things are slowly looking like we're going to be easing back into cricket, so looking forward to it.
I'm back in a 7-day snap lockdown up here, Bora. That means no cricket training for us. And hopefully we'll achieve these vaccine targets sooner rather than later so that we can get back to playing cricket. I think if you want to play cricket, you have to get the jab and we'll be good to go. I'm not a vaccine expert, but I trust the experts. So sooner we get these vaccines in, we'll be able to get out and play some cricket.
Looks that way, isn't it? Cricket Victoria has spoken about getting the vaccine numbers up for cricket to resume as well as to participate in cricket. So with the government direction here in Victoria as well, the more numbers that get vaccine, the more numbers that are allowed to play out there in the community sport.
And I have one housekeeping job to do before we get into our episode. It's about our new addition to our podcast. So we're going to do an interview series and we'll be talking with a variety of guests about their roles and their involvement in this beautiful game. So stay tuned for more details. And if you haven't subscribed to our podcast yet, do that now so that you'll be able to listen to them as soon as they are released. As always, we have many things to talk about, including Sri Lanka sending 23-man squad to get qualified for the T20 World Cup. And IPL is heading into the pointy end with Chennai and Delhi already secured their place in the playoffs, and Chris Gale pulls out stating mental fatigue. And Sri Lanka women's team traveling to Pakistan for 3 one-day internationals. That hasn't confirmed yet, but that's what's on the news. And Smriti Mandhana's 100 puts India on top of day 4 of Australia-India test match. We have a few listener questions to answer as well. So where should we start, Bora?
Yeah, we've got a lot of things to cover. I'd like to touch base about the interview series that we are hoping to release through the program. So they go hand in hand. It's exciting time for us. We'd like to pick the brains of the people who will be interviewing in the series, get more insights into their roles and also talk more about the game we love. I think with cricket over the week happening, we'd like to stick with Sri Lanka. That will be a good starting point. We've sent 23 players, or a squad of 23 players out to Oman. Where the team's out there now. Preparations up in full swing. We've got the deadline. Mid-October's with squad announcements. So I think we're trying to figure out our final 15 squad still. So that probably is why we've taken a large squad. Also with the bubble environment that it's a regular norm now. Teams tend to take larger squads owing to the issues of having to self-quarantine for a longer period. So the sensible thing is let's take a larger touring squad so everyone's quarantined the period that needs and are ready to go if need be. So it makes sense taking out a larger squad. And 23, I think that's the best squad we have there. 23 players. Can't think of anyone outside that 23.
Yeah, I think that's our best squad we can send over there, Bora. And what I saw in the media was that we have been playing few practice games in Sri Lanka as well.
Okay.
Between the squads, like a few intra-club practice games. And Mickey Arthur has come out and said they've been doing a lot of skill training, like match scenarios. They've been practicing those scenarios so that when they go and play in UAE in those pitches, they'll be good to go.
That's a good one, Vida. Something I'd like to touch base when you're talking about strategies. With the IPL, I've been watching a few games. the strategy has been sometimes to get away with a part-time bowler, or if they're struggling to get a spinner in the middle over, they seem to start that bowler as the first bowler in the innings. So
Yeah.
they feel the first over of an innings, you can get away with a bowler that
Yeah.
they are unsure, or sneak an over in, make it a 19 over competition for the field inside that they need to worry about. So
Yeah.
little strategies like that, we might need to look at, okay, give that bowler like Dhananjaya Silva, or another part-time like Charita Srilanka, another off spinner. Can he sneak in one over with the new ball? But he still has to get that under himself, work that
Yeah.
opportunity to see, all right. And I've seen that, I think some of the IPL sides seem to be getting away with it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
those are things that we kind of, okay, let's have this as a plan. So you have plan A, plan B, plan C
Yes.
as well.
Especially in the power play, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and we talked about trying out few combinations in our past episodes as well. Like, we have two warm-up games against Oman, then we have
yeah,
another two, one against Bangladesh and Papua New Guinea. As you said, try a couple of these combinations. Like Dhananjay has been doing that. If you're bowling against a left-hander, he usually come and bowl at least one over in that power play. So, and
yeah,
talking about power play overs, I remember, I think it was Tilna Tushar who played for Chennai Super King. He used to
yeah,
say, if you want to bowl to Chris Gale, he'll raise his hand and say, I'll bowl the first over, because he will not go after you in the first over. So
yeah.
try your part-time bowler in the first over. Sometimes he'll get you a wicket and you can get 2 overs from his bowling.
Something which I'd like to touch base when we're talking about Oman. There's a key Sri Lankan figure out there, Dulip Mendes. He's the coach of Oman, and I think he's built up a good side over time. In the media, I was reading that he's been associated with Oman cricket for 10 years now. So that's a
Yeah.
long time where he's been able to bring about the change and style of cricket that he wants to play. 10 years of cricket, even imagine from a junior structure level, he's
Yeah.
been able to bring about. So there, I mean, it speaks well for Oman cricket, the consistency they've had through. I'm sure he'll be up for it. I know it's playing against Sri Lanka, but it's always good exposure for him as well. I mean, we do speak highly of Dulip Mendes in the ranks.
Yeah. Well, looking at his CV, Bora, he played for Sri Lanka and done really well and scored in
Yeah.
hundreds in both innings.
Yes.
And I think he almost held all the top positions in Sri Lanka cricket. He was a coach, he
Yeah.
was a manager, he was a CEO, and
Yeah.
so all that experience over the years. So 10 years in Oman, he's bringing all that to that camp.
Yeah.
So is a big asset for Oman cricket, Bora.
Yeah. Coming back into the Sri Lankan squad, with I just thought we'll touch base about the team combination that we might look at. I know we've brought in a more matured player in Nuwan Pradeep, Sirasa as we fondly call him. And then we've got spin-led attack. I mean, Dushmantha Chamira will spearhead the attack. He'll have the supports of Charmika Karunaratna, who will be the all-rounder, bowling all-rounder spot as the third seamer, or maybe the second seamer if the track start to turn a lot. Vanidu Hasaranga leading the spinners. And then I think we've brought into the squad Lakshan Sandakan. So it'll be interesting to see if he'll make it into the 15. And then, I mean, the new boy on the park, Mahesh Teekshana. From the squad, those are the players you'll see a lot more involved in the T20 mix. Praveen Jayavikrama is still settling in. He's had a good start to his test career, slowly settling into the shorter format. But the key players you see are Dushmantha Vanidu and Mahesh Teekshana as the main bowlers in that attack, who lead the charge. We do have Lahiru Kumara, who's got the pace.
Pace, yeah.
But then fitness has been a cloud over his fitness over a period of time. So unless he has a strong build up over these practice games and he's showing that improvement, that will be the main factor that's gonna see if he gets into the 15 or he's out of the 15.
I think in bowling wise, we have a strong lineup to choose from, Bora. I think key for our success in UAE is our batting. And that's especially batting against spinners. We haven't been at our best, batting against spinners. So that's the area we have to make sure we get better to put those scores up to defend or chase down runs. So for me, batting is the key.
I think you nailed it on the head there, because we know it's going to be spin friendly tracks and we feel confident we've got the spinners, but then we need to have the batsmen who are capable of playing spin as well. If we are playing on spin friendly tracks, they must have done they must be working on the hard work, playing the shots. A lot of the time we hear a common shot that needs to be played is a sweep. With the sweep, a lot of the problems that we are facing is we seem to be sweeping the ball up in the air rather than being able to sweep in front of square, behind square, as areas to manipulate the field. I think I could think of a strong player was Chamara Silva in the domestic, where he'll keep moving the fielders through his sweeps. Niroshan Dickwella used to do that for NCC when he was playing as well. It's just unfortunate that he's been sidetracked with what's been happening out of the field. Those are the type of shots that we've got to start playing. I mean, we play the hard sweep in terms of, the slog sweep or the harder sweep, but then we seem to be raising the risk factors a lot higher when playing those shots. So the risk versus reward becomes a big question up there.
You're spot on there. So hopefully we'll get those things sorted out before we head into the main tournament. Let's move on to IPL. Bora, 2 teams have already qualified for playoffs and 4 teams are fighting to be in the other 2 spots. So it's getting interesting in the pointy end. But Chris Gayle, he decided to pull out, stating mental fatigue.
Universe boss, he's a guy who loves his entertainment, right? And if he's struggling to be in that bubble life, it speaks a lot. There is a draining factor that we don't see outside. We only see the matches that are being played. But when you're confined to closed spaces, just being in your room, I think over time it builds up. And it's a strong factor. Normally he's a guy who's easygoing, Chris Gayle, and if he can't cope with it, generally not a lot of players can cope up with it. So it's unfortunate, but I think it's in the best interest. It's good that he put his hand up and said he wants to settle down, calm down, charge his batteries, come back for the West Indies. So it might be his last tournament up there as well. So for the West Indies. So
that's right.
He wants to make it good final tournament for the West Indies. But talking about the teams, Chennai Super Kings, massive turnaround for them. Last year they couldn't qualify. I mean, the first time they haven't been able to qualify from I don't know, I think since the start of the IPL. So they're a very strong team that
very experienced
was last year. This year they've ticked the boxes by being the first to get qualified. Delhi Capitals, the team that we both backing to win it this year. After a slight hiccup, they've managed to turn it around. The batting still seems to be a bit iffy because the last game was against Mumbai Indians, where they had to rely on Ashwin to come good
and finish the game.
And then now Virat Kohli's Royal Challengers seem to have slightly turned it around. They managed to get a few wins. So I think they are sitting third on the ladder. Still the back end of it. So a few teams fighting for that third and fourth, the last few spots to get in. So we should see some good games happening out there.
So RCB need 1 win from 3 games, Bora, to get into the playoffs, and other three teams, only one team will, realistically, I'm guessing RCB will win at least one game out of three, and other three teams will fight for one spot. So it's getting interesting.
I think it's been a stop-start tournament with the IPL. Hopefully there'll be more entertaining games to the back end of it. Talking about the strong teams that are out there, a lot of the players are, the Indian squad, a few of the players are in the limelight because they've selected or they've picked up their team that's going to be representing the T20, but they see some players are not performing, so they are feeling the heat of it. A simple example is the Mumbai Indians spinner who I think was dropped from the team, and whereas Chaha, I think is his name, and then you have Yuzendra Chahal playing for RCB. He's amongst the wickets, and he's not in the squad, so he's making a strong case. Okay, will you guys make a sudden change here? So, Chennai Super Kings, the opener, he seems to be having a very strong season.
Yeah,
so,
Gaikwad.
Gaikwad, scored 100 in the last game. So the second rank Indian, the second tier Indian player seems to be picking up really fast and putting pressure on, the guys who are in the squads. It argues well going into the T20 World Cup.
No, it's going to be interesting. We're going to keep our eyes on IPL for the next week. And some good news for Sri Lankan women's team, Bora. They might travel to Pakistan to play 3 one-dayers, but it's not confirmed yet. Still a work in progress, but it's at least some good news for women's cricket in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I've seen that. So number one, Sri Lankan women's team hasn't been playing much cricket, and even an opportunity to go out and play is a good opportunity or a chance for the girls to be part of playing games. But a lot of things will have to be ticked off before the matches go ahead. I know they've nominated the girls to go out into Pakistan, but from a security perspective, from a COVID environment, what's the logistics around that? How many players can we take out there? So a few areas that needs to be met. But I think I've seen that, so over the next week or so we'll hear more if it's confirmed or not. It's a good challenge for the girls. And talking about challenges for the women setup, they've had a change in the coach. I think Hashan Tilakaratne has taken over the women's team. So it'll be probably his first assignment with the girls to probably play and put a display of his coaching style with the girls,
I think Sri Lanka women's cricket needed that high-profile name in the women's cricket setup. So Hashan Tilakaratne's appointment brings that element to Sri Lanka women's cricket. And we talked about security concerns in Pakistan, Bora. England pulling out and New Zealand pulling out. But the way we assess security in our part of the world is a little bit different from the way the other countries assess the situation. You and I both know we grew up in a...
we grew up with the war.
With the war for 30 years, so it's very hard to explain, but you assess situations differently. I remember when I was in the A team, Bora, we had, it was during the wartime, and Pakistan, they sent their A team and the national team to Sri Lanka. And the security we had for both teams was unbelievable. You had the security that head of state gets. If the authorities can produce that assurance to Sri Lanka cricket, I think the tour will go ahead. But
we'll keep eyes on what's happening out there. But it's still, for the girls having not played any cricket at all, it's something good. At the moment, India playing Australia in a series over here. As we speak, we'd love to move on to the next topic, where India seem to be in control in the test match that is currently being played. I know it's a rain affected game, but they seem to be in charge. Smriti Mandhana, she scored a maiden century and set the tone. It's a strong Aussie attack, but they've announced a few debutants as well.
2 debutants.
Yeah, so it's settling into a good game. India ahead as we speak. I think a few runs ahead going into their second innings.
So they lead by 264. I'm just checking my phone. 264.
All right.
And I think they might declare soon and have a crack at Aussies under lights, hoping that the ball will move around and try to get them out. But I think the rain has spoiled the party for both teams.
With the girls, Elise Perry has been she's been my favorite player out there. I think she's a good brand ambassador in the game. But more recently, I have a keen following on Beth Mooney, who's come about. She scored a good 100, strong match winning performance. Then she's coming out in the media again, talking about how her fitness routines have changed, how she's becoming, she sees that effect of it. And that's a massive fit. She was talking about how she runs the 2K trial inside 8 minutes, 15 seconds. And she talked about how she focused on getting to it rather than, thinking about the end results. It wasn't a overnight fix, but it was a gradual process, how she was eating well, how she had strength, fitness sessions as well, strength conditioning with their own personal trainers, and how she built it over time. And now the results are showing. So I'm keen to see how she goes around in the 4th innings of this test match. I have a feeling she'll come up with another strong performance, but let's keep an eye out.
She missed out in the first innings. I think the ball started to move around under lights. And, no doubt. These girls have been amazing for the last couple of years. They're raising that bar so high, and which is really good for women's cricket in Australia and women's cricket globally. Let's move back onto Sri Lanka Cricket Bora. Our boys in Everest Premier League, they have been dominating with strong performances there. Southern Virakodi is leading the runs chart. Upul Taranga winning Man of the Match award, and Dilshan Munavira getting some runs. Sahana Arachige and
spot on. I think few of the Sri Lankans, they've been managing to get the crossing the 50 mark on a few occasions. I think Asela Gunaratne
got a 50
runs. Sandun, like you said, I think he's the leading run scorer at the moment. Upul is fine wine, isn't it? He tournament that he gets in, he seems to be, scoring runs. So he's been good. The old warhorse, Dhammika Prasad, he's inspiring generations out there as well by the looks of it. You see on social media, he loves his strong fitness routines. He loves inspiring others. He's got a lot of energy. But the good thing is the Sri Lankans who are out there seem to be performing well, leading the setup there. I'm yet to see Sikuge Prasanna come through, but I'm sure he's not too far away. But
I think there was few games got washed off. Maybe that's why we didn't see much from Sikuge. But
could be that.
There's but a few more. I think there's about another 2-3 days of cricket before they get into the final stage. So we'll hear more from our boys, and good luck to them. Last week we answered few listener questions, and they've been sending us more questions. And do you want to answer a couple of questions from our listeners, Bora?
Yeah, love to. That's the feedback we want. That gives us more discussions to have. Talk about. So I'd like to lead the first one, which comes from Damit from Adelaide. Great episode, guys. Really enjoyed it. You both spoke about goal setting. I have a couple of questions. One, so he's got 2 questions. It's going to be interesting. What are your roles this season? So before we go on to the second question, let's finish this one. So what are your roles this season? Vida, do you want to lead the
Yeah,
charge?
all right. So, well, I am captaining my team this season. So, captain and coach. So, bit of a new role for me. But we lost a few senior players due to various reasons. So, but we have a good young players coming up. So, it's a bit of a challenge for me to build a culture around these youngsters and make sure we win few games. And I'm looking after all the bowlers as well, Bora, because we'll be playing short format cricket with this COVID restriction. It's been really hard with preseason, but we've been practicing different scenarios at training and all that. So it's going to be an interesting season for me, Bora. What about
Perfect.
you?
Yeah, roles exactly. I'm taking on the challenge of coaching my local club that I play for, Aberfeldy Cricket Club. We play in the Victorian Turf Cricket Association here in Melbourne.
Mm.
Um, so we are head leading. I mean, preparing for the season. So my role is I'm still playing the game of cricket, but slightly different role of being the coach. It's a learning curve for myself, but enjoying the challenge. Preseason is a very short preseason. With the current lockdown, we can't train as a group. So as it
Mm.
stands, if the restrictions ease and we are ready to play round one, which is shorter format games, at least the first half of the season,
Mm.
we'll have 6 sessions of training that we can do as a group. So few things we are working behind the scene, but mainly the role is of being a coach this year round. All right,
Okay.
moving on to the second part or second question from Damit. What are your personal goals for the upcoming season?
Okay. So, as you said, we will be playing a lot of one day cricket this season. As a bowler, my personal goal is, let's say, we'll be playing at least 15 rounds of cricket. So, my aim is to average 2 wickets a game. But I'm setting myself a target of taking 30 wickets. In the middle of the season, I might have to adjust that target. And I'm batting in the middle order as well, Bora. So it's a bit of a challenge for me. But I played a lot of cricket in spinning wicket. So as the captain, I'm going to play that role of handling the spinners in those middle overs and take the team to a target, scoring some runs in the latter part of the inning. Trying to set myself a target of scoring 400 runs, 350 runs. Those are the numbers I'm looking at this season.
Yeah, numbers wise, exactly right. I'd like to, I mean, always go into a season wanting to be on the finish on top, getting them on the leading, try if not be the leading wicket take in the comp. We've done a bit of our team combination has changed slightly, so we've got a few experienced players coming in, which gives us we start the tournament strong as a strong playing group. Personal goals, yes, want to be the leading strike bowler for the attack.
Mm.
That means trying to average, I always talk about the figure 3 wickets per game.
Mm.
So trying to get that. So you're closer to the 40
Yeah.
wicket mark. That's a challenge. I always try to bring that. So then, like you say, mid-season, you might have to adjust as we go along.
Mm.
So my focus is on that. Also, as amongst the group, I'd like to see if we can make a change amongst the playing group up there as well.
Let's move on to the next one. This is from Lochana from Melbourne. I think he's complaining because we only talked about bowling in our last episode, but I saying need batting preparation tips too.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought about it. We talked about, I think that's our experience. We both were bowlers, so we talked about our goal setting with that. But I've got to, I love talking about it. You would have heard me in the dressing rooms always, again, the guys like Angelo Pereira, even Farvis Maruf, when I joke about, being able to bat, or I post some stuff about how to bat. So,
Yeah.
um, something for I think today we can talk about how we prepare with batting. I mean, little things we want to prepare. Again, depends on where you're batting in the order. I used to joke. I was a rock hard night watchman where I block the balls. I don't let the ball get past me. So my role back in Sri Lanka, especially when I get the chance, I always put my hands up to be the night watchman because I playing for strong teams in Sri Lanka was batting in the lower ranks. You probably bat after 7, number 8. I had a season where I did open for CCC. We were
Oh yeah.
short of few of our players were picked for national duties, and we were looking for that opener. I mean, it was just a tryout. So,
Yeah.
but my preparation, depending on which area you bat, going into number 8, we were always playing at NCC or back in first class cricket. Coming in at number 8, you want to be able to build that partnership with the last recognized batsman, because generally you have your number 6 batsman and then you have your all-rounder and then the bowlers coming in. So if you're able to settle in, you have the luxury of taking your time in, because you have a recognized batsman at the other end, and your duty most of the time is to play out that 2 to 3 balls initially, because they take up the strike a lot better. But you prepare yourself, okay, how can you so for us as bowlers at that time was to preserve our wicket how best we can do it. But if you're talking about more of a recognized batsman, how they prepare again is the thought process. We talk about how you're batting in training. You want to take the same thing out into the middle. You want to bat
Absolutely.
same way, so that it's nothing new. You feel comfortable with the situation. Again, probably a batsman would want to, I think we touched very briefly where an average season for a batsman is around that 500-600 mark, but an exceptional season is that 900 to 1000 run mark. So how can we make it that exceptional season is to hit the ground running. For a batsman, if you can get past that 20 to 30 mark or the 20 run mark, generally you set yourself up and you got to, plan ahead. A lot of the time, a lot of the batsmen we had in our training, in our playing groups, sometimes plan it out because we play 4-day cricket, plan it out. Okay, in the first session, I might be able to score this much of runs. The second session, I might be able, these are the targets I want to hit. And within the end of the day, you got that 100, because to score 100, you got to, space it out. That's what, as batsmen, you've got to start preparing for it. So it's easy for us to say, I want to go out there and score 100, but if you haven't done the hard work, if you haven't hit the number of balls, you're not sure how your body is reacting once you score that 30, 40, 60 or 100 run mark. You don't know that. So that's the preparation you want to do.
I think it's pretty much the same like we discussed about bowling, isn't it, Bora? Since Lochan is from Melbourne and he's likely to play more limited overs cricket this season, so you'll have to set your goals accordingly, right? And depending on where he's batting, like if he's batting in the top 4, there's a good chance you can make a few long innings. But if you're batting in the middle order, it's a bit tough, because sometimes when you walk into bat, you'll have like 5-6 overs to go and you can't really build an inning there. You just have to go from the first ball. So you might have to plan your training sessions suiting your place in the batting order. We're still a month away from the first game, and try and get more volume into your batting workload, like hit more throwdowns, use the bowling machine, and drop hits. And if you're batting in the middle order, go to the middle and hit some bombs. Do some range hitting. And
a tip for Lochana would be, Vida, if you come across a part-time spinner, you gotta see if you can, take him up to that 15 over 15 run mark, because in shorter format cricket, he'll, like, if you can go hard, if you can hit a 6 and a 4, that's 10, and they milk a couple of twos. That's 12 runs in that over. Got to back yourself when you think, all right, you've seen one ball of him and you can line him up. Back
Yeah.
yourself to do that as well.
Yeah.
Start thinking about that over. So then
Yeah.
when you see that guy come in, you can take it up to him.
I mean, that was a short message, there's not much, we don't know where he's batting and all that. So maybe if you send us a little bit more information, we can give you a better answer, isn't it, Bora?
Yeah, but good luck, Lochana. I'm sure you're being involved with the game of cricket if you're in Melbourne. Hopefully, you get a chance to be a flat track bully on on one of the game days. So wish you well.
Yeah. Okay, now we are coming to the end of this episode, and thank you for joining us today. And we would like you to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify, and all the other leading podcast providers. And then you will be able to listen to the latest episode as soon as it is released.
If you'd like to send us feedback or any suggestion, maybe to interview a guest or ask a question, join our Facebook community or give us a follow on our socials, and we'll feature that in the upcoming episodes.
We will add all these links in the show notes. And if you like to check out the video versions of this podcast, check us out on YouTube.
We really appreciate if you can leave us a quick review on Apple Podcasts with a generous 5 stars. That will help other Sri Lankan cricket loving listeners like you to find this podcast.
We are so glad that you have joined us today. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode covering everything that happened in the cricket world. And until then, enjoy the game.
See you next week, guys.
Bye-bye.